I forgot to tweet, so I'm going to do that right now. I'm waiting for the streams to catch up. And that is YouTube's thinking. It's thinking real hard. Twitch looks like it's good. Excellent. And YouTube is happening. Awesome. Hello. That's where you are. Hello and welcome to live streaming where I code. So that would be live coding is what I would call that. A little sip of coffee. I just had like a really nice chill 2-day vacation. Read a lot of fiction books actually. Hi Mintu, welcome to the stream. Which I have not done for years. Many years has it been since I actually read fiction and just for fun, and it was nice. What are we doing? What's the stream title? I have been out of it for a little bit. Well, by it, I mean work. So I am, by that, I mean I took 2 days off. We are working on our dialect quiz, which if you've done the New York Times dialect quiz, which I am going to pull up again, I still haven't bookmarked it, was originally a series of multiple choice questions. And people would answer the questions. And then at the end of the quiz, and there's 25 questions in this quiz, our quiz has 19, but right now we're only using 18 of them. So that's something that we're going to need to fix in the future. And at the end, there's a guess about where in the United States language use is most like yours. Mintu says, it's great to be here with you. I'm new to Rasa and NLP. Welcome. Can you explain the Rasa NLU training steps? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So what you'll need is these stories in your data set that sort of show how the conversation is likely to go. And you can start with a few that you just sort of like make up, and then once you have your assistant sort of ready to go, then you'll sort of do iterative learning. So that's when you'd start using Rasa X. Right now we're just using Rasa open source. Rasa X is like a nice interface, and people can like come and have conversations, and you can use those conversations to improve the assistance. You'll also need this nlu.markdown file. And this one's a little bit more, it's got more bits in it just because we've been working on it for a while. Hello, Zolcium. Welcome to the stream. And for these, you'll need different intents. So here's a lot of different ways of saying yes. And we want to say all of those are a person trying to say the same thing. So agree or confirm. And then, in addition to your various intents that you might have, which will correspond to things that the user can say in your stories, you can also have examples of entities. And entities are text that has a particular value for a particular slot. So here we have a slot where basically we're asking what you call a specific type of bug. And then here are all of the different things that a person could say to answer that question. And when we see this text in our intent and form, we know that this is a specific entity and can save that information. That's the basic idea. Akam, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, says, ma'am, can we use Rasa for building voice chatbots? Absolutely you can. So Rasa doesn't do the voice processing. What you will need is some way to take the voice information, turn that into text, and then pass that to Rasa. So a while ago on the stream, we were working with the Alexa platform to do that. Ooh, let me unplug these so you don't get a little bit of an echo. And you could use any voice API. If you wanted to do it on device, you could have whatever sort of on-device voice thing you're using. So you would need a different system to handle the ASR, automatic speech recognition, and take in the waveform and convert that to text. Ooh, ow. Sorry, I punched my keyboard tray. Excellent questions. and a great warm-up because now I remember what we're doing. So we've been working on this assistant for a little while, and it's got some sort of like fancier parts to it that you wouldn't necessarily need for your very first assistant. But what we did last Friday was we worked on taking the answers to questions, and where's our action.py file? There we go. Akem says we can use the Google API. Yep, absolutely. You could use the Google Speech API. You could use the Alexa Speech API. Bing has one. Samsung has one. There's some open source options. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could build your own. There's lots of open source libraries out there for doing voice recognition. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just a weird train of thought that went immediately off the rails. Fridorek says, hello people. Hello, welcome. So what we've done for the last couple weeks is the original dialect quiz was multiple choice. We want to avoid having it be multiple choice because that might prime people to say words that they otherwise wouldn't say. And like this, if you've ever taken a dialect quiz, this is something that like you can definitely do to yourself. You're like reading along and you're like, well, I'd say X, but I definitely heard Y and maybe that's the correct answer. And you sort of second guess yourself. And that's not ideal for trying to get dialect information. Mintu says how to put a condition in Rasa, e.g. if we want to search a recipe between $3 and $10. So you would do any sort of thing that you want your assistant to do that's not identifying intents and entities and deciding what to say next in the conversation would be in actually the file we're in right here, this actions.py folder. So I've got a lot of stuff that's very specific to our assistant. I should say this is Python code. It can be any programming language you want. It could be any arbitrary code. You just need to I think we only have an SDK for Python. So if you're okay with building your own SDK, you can do whatever you want. And your Rasa assistant will run on one server and it will handle sort of the speechy dialogue, well, the texty dialogue parts of the text. And then your actions server, which will be a separate server, will handle whatever code is in here. So what we're doing here, which is kind of similar to searching, is we're doing data validation. So we have, for each of our multiple choice questions, we have the name of the slot that we got the information from. So from, did I close it? I think I did. In our NLU, here's the slot, second person plural, and we've collected this information using a form, which we can talk about more if anyone has any questions on those, but it's just like a way of collecting a bunch of slots at once. And then here's all of the answers that would work. And what we're doing here is we're actually dynamically generating functions. So we have one function for every slot that we are checking. But the important thing that we're doing is we are looking in this dictionary of values that we have. So it's a database. And if the person's answer is exactly in the dictionary, then we're like, great, they said something that we know how to handle. And if they said something else, first we're going to check to see if it's similar to one of our answers using edit distance. We're using the fuzzy wuzzy library here for fuzzy matching. And if it's pretty close to one of our answers, then we'll say that it's that answer. And if it's not, then we'll say that it's other. So all of the questions have an other option. So if you wanted to do something like search a database for a recipe between certain, values, then you would have, your database wouldn't necessarily have to be in your Python code. Here it is because I want my validation to be pretty self-contained. But you could have, a different database that you did lookup calls to, and then return that information. And you return information to the user by using this dispatcher, which is in the Rasa SDK, has a function called utter message, and that will say some sort of message. And that the message is defined in the domain file. Nope, not what I wanted. The domain, which is a YAML file. So here we have all of the things that the bot can say are under responses. And let's see, utter submit is what we've defined here. So once we finish running this function, our bot will say all done. And you could instead say, here are your restaurant results, and then have, you know, a slot that you've set in your function is how you would do that. Yeah, it's a fair number of moving parts, but the sort of the core ethos of the Rasa library is that it should be very extensible. Whatever you want an assistant to do, you should be able to build an assistant to do using Rasa. And of course, we're always happy to have people working on, you know, fun projects, but it's a serious library for business things as well, if you wanted it to be, or, you know, whatever you want to build an assistant for. Oh, my glass, I don't know if you can see, it's got hedgehogs on it. It says, share the hedge. Yeah. Okay. So, the data validation was what we did last time. So, we have a number of slots, and I believe that it's actually 18, even though we are asking 19 questions, because I forgot about the bug slot at some point, and we'll handle that later. And we also have in this actions folder a pre-trained model that we're loading in. Actually, I think that's after the validation. Yeah, here we go. So we have this classifier pipeline. We've trained an XGBoost classifier on other data which has a bunch of people's responses to this dialect quiz and also where they're from. And that's what we've used as the training data. And I don't have permission to share that data. It is courtesy of Bert Vox and the Harvard Dialect Survey. So unfortunately, that's not included in the repo, but the pre-trained model is. And also, I think there's something deeply wrong with the pre-trained model. Again, we'll handle that in the future. So we load in our label encoder. And this is what takes the text that the person has entered in this case, because we've done our data validation, so that we know that the text that the person has entered will match one of the fields in our original training data. And we also have the classifier itself. So again, it's an XGBoost classifier, and it was trained using this label encoder and these classes. And that is important because if you try to use a different label encoder, let's say if you had mapped y'all to the value 1 and you instead map y'all to the value 3, it won't be treated as y'all, it'll be treated as yins or whatever was in the value 3. And what we want to do today is we want to take that encoder and apply it to the response that the user has supplied after finishing their form. Oh, and you're very welcome in too. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And we also have, for the dumbest possible testing, just a test case to make sure that it works. And in fact, it does. I've spilled all down my front, and I don't have any of my kerchiefs nearby. Well, I'll just be soggy. That's fine. I didn't spill that much. So this is the function where we encode the data with our pre-trained label encoders. And the input data that we have here is, I believe, a data frame where the, I don't remember. I think where the column titles are the question. So what we need to do, okay, what do we need to do? First, let's go to the little scratch pad that we have because I don't want to be messing around with this code, which I know works. I'm using source control, don't worry. But I think it'll still be helpful to have, nope. Oh, so this is where we did the Alexa connector, which I'm probably actually going to not end up using. I'm probably going to end up using Google Voice or something else just because I was talking to somebody from the Alexa team And apparently for certification, which is what you need to have your voice assistant go on the marketplace, there are some rules that they just don't tell you about. That means that the way that I've implemented this just won't work, just won't pass certification, and there's no way to tell that until you fail certification. And I think that that's fairly frustrating, but it's not my team. I don't run it. I'll use something else and that'll be fine. Okay. Go down to domain endpoints. I should have in here, nope, this is all my trained models for my, my assistant. As you can see, I've trained a lot of models. Classifier, there we go. So this actions folder is this classifier folder is one that I've just added. And in it, I have the notebook I use to train the classifier, but not the training data, so you won't be able to train the same classifier. And then my encoded objects that I talked about later, and I have this question key that I did not finish, so I'm just gonna undo that right now, and we'll come back and do it later. And the question key has the name of the slot, the text of the original question, the key used to refer to that question in the original data, and then all of the answers to that key in order, hopefully. And I think actually that there's something, the reason that my model is messed up is because I've messed up the mapping between the numeric encoding that the data was sent to me with and the number, the relationship of the questions, but we'll handle that later. Trackster says, it's not related to the current topic, but can you teach how to connect with PostgreSQL and get data from it and use in another video? I don't really have any use cases for it, but I will take a note. Yeah. I'm going to say this wrong. Hakito Sanpasa? Sorry about that. Says, I'm new to ML, senior Titanic tutorial on Kaggle. Just wanted to thank you for it. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad you found it helpful. So, Tractor said for the Rasa chatbot. Yeah, no, I get what you're going for. I just don't have any PostgreSQL data laying around, but I can definitely I'd probably do like a general connecting SQL database tutorial, and then maybe extend it to Postgres. I don't know. We'll see. I have the next couple weeks pretty packed in terms of things that I'm doing, but okay. So this is the code. This is where we did all the code to create our functions for the classifier pipeline in the actions folder that we just saw. And I'm doing it in a Jupyter here because I can like check in on what all my data structures look like as I'm working in it. Don't come for me, Joel. Sorry, Joel Cruz famously hates Jupyter notebooks. I like them. Okay, so let's see what test case looks like, because that's what I've called. That's the one. All right. And if you wanted to run that cell also, that would be great. There we go. Okay. So test case right now is, it looks like a series, a Panda series, where each item is a Panda series with named indices, where the names are the question numbers. We do not have the question numbers associated with our input data yet. What we do have are the slot names. And we also have, in this question key CSV, we have the slot names and the question numbers in the same row. So we can map from the slot names to the question numbers, and that shouldn't be a huge problem. famous last words. And then, there we go. Each of those is a list of length 1 with the respondent's answer numerically encoded. Was it... Was it numerically encoded to begin with? I've accidentally pasted it twice, so that's not what I'm looking for. Because if it wasn't text to begin with, we're going to have some difficulties. Surely it was. Yeah, I'm trying to delete. Ugh. I'm grateful that I can use Jupyter Notebooks in VS Code, but the interface sometimes has like a weird lag between typing and showing things, and that's frustrating. Hakito says, that shouldn't be a huge problem. 2 weeks later, yeah. All right, yeah. Okay, so the reason that we were seeing encoded data was because the encoder changed it in place, which is fine. We can handle that. Okay. So we need to get this into this format, and then it's the encoding that will create the list. So we don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about is creating our answers, our user answers, which are right now a bunch of disparate slots. And what we need to do is we need to create a data structure that's a Panda series that's named where the names are these question indices. All right, how are we gonna do that? Let's see. Okay, so as I remember, I should have in here somewhere the way to access a slot, unless I removed it, which I don't think I did. So there is a way using the SDK to access a slot directly from within your... Oh, maybe I did remove it. That's going to be an issue. Directly within your assistant, which is good because then you can like confirm information and such. Okay. And I had, at some point, figured out the syntax to refer to it from within the actions server itself, and it looks like right now I removed that code. So let's head over to GitHub and check out the repository and see if I can find Dialect QuizBot. There we go. All right, and this is this should be linked in the YouTube video, and if you're watching on Twitch, here I'll just copy and paste the link if you would like to take a look. So let's get you bigger. All right, 17 commits. Yeah, I need to update one of the TensorFlow dependencies. Let's see. Pull requests. Ah, gotcha. I was like, who's making pull requests? I don't remember seeing any of those. All right, and yes, those are about version updates as well. So the file that we want to look at is the actions.py, and we want one from like a while ago that we did this. I think it was in February. Hey Elliot, I'm trying to find when something worked in the past. File renamed without changes, not helpful. It might be faster just to go and check in the docs. Let's see. Yeah, no, it was definitely well before this. I want to say it was like a month and a half ago. Sorry, I'm sort of in the middle of the bit where you need to see. There we go. It says there aren't any older ones. Is that because I changed the name of the file, maybe? I am not as familiar with GitHub as I could be. All right, I don't know if there's any way to look further back. And I don't want to revert. I just want to look with my eyes. That's all I want. Yeah, I know. I'm going to update my dependencies. Don't yell at me. All right, well, I can't find it. So, Elliot says, interesting it still uses scikit-learn as the underlying model. Does it come pre-trained? Not 100% sure what you're referring to. I think so the only thing we're using scikit-learn for here is the label encoder. Spacy might use scikit-learn, and Rasa does ship with pre-trained Spacy embeddings. You can use the pre-trained spacing embeddings. I think you have to download them separately, the language models and whatnot. So for some languages, pre-trained things are available, and by some languages, I mean English. It's English, and there are other options as well, particularly if you're using Spacy. But yeah, I don't know specifically what everyone's using for their pre-training. Let's look at the documentation. I think that's going to be the best, our best bet here. And what I want to know about is the Rasa SDK in Python. Why can I not type? Perhaps I have maligned VS Code when it is in fact my keyboard. Offline, but I am streaming. It looks like YouTube is still working. Maybe? Okay, Hekio says it's fine. Excellent. That was scary. I don't know what happened. I couldn't type, then everything went black. Not ideal. All right. I was looking up the Rasa SDK before things went weirdly sideways. I guess I'm gonna have to check my logs. Oop. Okay, so here's the GitHub repo, but I think I actually want the documentation. Here we go. All right. Rasa SDK. Pip install. It is installed using the action server. Don't have questions about that. Ooh, actually. Okay. Sorry, there's something about Windows that makes using the command line version of the assistant a little bit slower, and it has something to do with localhost versus IP addresses, but that's not what that is about. I still haven't figured it out. I was too busy reading fiction. There we go. It's tracker.get slot. That was my question that I wanted to answer. So the tracker is... Yeah. So the tracker is... No. So this is the connection to the tracker, which is... Excuse me. Connection to the tracker, which is... a history of the state of the conversation, including all the slots and entities. So we are getting from the tracker the slot cuisine. All right. So I think we can use our file. Sorry, so what I'm thinking about now is, do we want to use our file, our CSV file that looks at, in order to match each slot with its question number? Or do we just want to do that as, again, another data structure that we just hard code into our action folder? Pros and cons. So pros of doing it directly in the action folder, it's very clear what the mapping is. We don't have another file dependency. If I accidentally delete that file, it'll still be fine. Cons, it'll be like 20 extra lines of code. It's not that much. It's really not that much. And I think I would prefer to have the mapping information directly in our actions file. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's what we're gonna do. Robbie says, so what? I do not know what that was in reference to, and I don't know where you are in the stream, especially given the deeply weird thing that just happened. Maybe there's like a button on the keyboard that's ending streams, but I don't know for sure. All right. Yes. All right. Let's minimize. Carefully drag. And do that. Okay. So back to our IPython-NB. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. So what we need is a list of questions and a list of slots. And we have this doohickey. So here's the slot name. Here's the question name. Probably the fastest way to do this is just going to be to calc. There we go. Use LibreOffice, probably. All right, let's move this over here so I can copy and paste good. Is this going to just paste as a CSV? Please just paste as a CSV. Comma separated, that will work. Okie dokie. Goodbye. And do this. There we go. All right. And then we can add the bug slot when we get around to it, which I don't know, maybe we'll just delete that question. Although it is a very good question in terms of, it is a very good question in terms of getting things apart. So, we have this, and let's turn it into, I think, a dictionary. Why do we want it to be a dictionary? Because lookup time is better in a hash data structure, and we're going to need to look up 8 times. What's the syntax for dictionary in Python? I definitely know this. What did I do? Save. Yeah, because the thing that I did was I deleted one line that just says bug. And how did I have it set up here? Okay, so I had hard character returns after every answer, which is not going to be super important. Okay. So. Nope. Very much not that. There we go. And then colon, nah. That also has to be text. Is that correct? It looks right. Yes, I think that's correct. All right, and now I'm just gonna do the rest of these by hand. Has doing things by hand already burned me once very badly in this in this project? Yes, but it is only 19 of them, which is just not that many. And honestly, I like sometimes, every so often, just doing like dumb stuff by hand. I find it restful. How are y'all doing? Well, I'm working on this. Hopefully good. Hopefully you're doing the best you can in the given circumstances. Oh, I was gonna bake like a cake or something in my during my little vacation. I absolutely did not. All I did was read, which is nice. Getting there. And then we can just, if we decide to add more questions in the future, we can just add them here, easy peasy, and of course, you know, retrain our entire thing from scratch, which is going to be the less easy peasy part. Please holler if you see me accidentally delete a whole row. I would not put it past myself. Is this the most efficient way of doing things? Probably not, but it's only 19 is the thing. And again, if I have so many things that I'm asking people that I can't be bothered to do them all by hand, then that's maybe too many things to ask a single person to sit down and do with their voice. Although I guess if you had like branching paths and not everyone was going to do all the things, then you might want to automate this a bit, but shrug. All right. There we go. And I'm definitely going to mess up at least one thing, and when I run my action server, I'll get a helpful error message, and we'll figure out what I did wrong and go back and fix it. Hakiki says, it's funny if you have a mechanical keyboard. I do not. I don't buy expensive keyboards. A, because it seems, I don't know, I don't even know what word I'm trying to look for here, but I can't bring myself to spend that much money on stuff usually. Like, I'm doing fine financially now, but in the past, that has not been the case. And a lot of those tablets sort of roll over. And also, I drink at my computer constantly. Like right now, I've got coffee and water with electrolytes. And I'd say the average lifespan of a keyboard I use is like 2 years. They don't have the best track record. I've destroyed a lot of keyboards with various liquids. And you know what? I'm definitely going to do it again in the future. I do not care to be dehydrated. Could I get a waterproof keyboard? Maybe. Are those a thing? Maybe I should look into that. All right. And let's call this something. We should probably give this a name, huh? Let's call this slot key. Is that slot question key? Yeah, that would do it. All right, excellent. And I think actually I can indent this and still not have an error. I'll say I use Python a fair amount, but I still consider myself a little bit of a learner with regards to the syntax. All right, excellent. Hacky, I'm just gonna say hacky, sorry. I'm almost certain that that's not right. It says unnecessary. I think frivolous is the word that I'm looking for. It's like, I don't know. It's like buying, I don't know, something ridiculous. I can't come up with any other things that are frivolous. And I admire mechanical keyboards. Like I really like looking at like the little keycaps that people make. I think they're very beautiful. But again, I would absolutely destroy them. All right, so we have our key here. And we have all of our slots. I'm just going to double check that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so there are 19. We should have 20. The one that we are missing is the bugs, and we'll handle that in the future. Oh. And this one also only has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Rachel, you can use shape. Shh. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, okay. So I've just completely ignored one of the values that I'm actually collecting. Like, I'm asking people the question, I just don't use it. And I will handle that in the future. All right, so here we have our key pairing thing. What do we do now? So we need to get the information out of the tracker. And I don't think there's really a way for us to do that in the IPython notebook because the tracker is sort of generated dynamically. I know about the tracker and sort of like how to interact with it, but I'm not super solid on its internals yet. I'm still very much learning about all the richness and complexity of Rasa. Also, things are being added very quickly, which is fantastic. It's a very, I don't want to say state of the art because then people are going to yell at me about benchmarks, and I don't know the benchmarks off the top of my head, but it's a very modern library. I'll say that. DK says, hi, how can I make sure that my chatbot isn't stuck at any point? Stuck like it doesn't know what to say next. So the way that Rasa handles that is in the config file, you can specify the policies. So policies are how the assistant decides what to say on the next turn. And the policies that we have here are a form policy, which is to fill our form, which is a thing that we're using to collect a bunch of slots at once. The memoization policy, which says if I've seen this set of interactions before, so if you look in your stories here, and you've greeted somebody and then, someone's greeted you and then they've started the quiz, and you ask them if they want to start the quiz, and they say yes, and then you do all of the things, and then they say thank you, you know that the next thing to say is utter no worries. So that's what the memoization means. It's following a pattern that it's seen before, if it has seen one before. And then the fallback policy is if nothing is above a certain threshold, so that means both if I can't correctly identify the intent, or I have correctly identified the intent, but I'm not sure what the next turn is, the fallback policy is what you'll do, which would be like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that, could you repeat yourself, or did you want one of these options? And then you can do little buttons to help people like decide the thing that they exactly wanted. Stuck like repeating question again and again and again. Yeah, that should not happen. If you have an assistant that is having this specific problem, I post about it on the Rasa forums. I think you're more likely to get specific answers. One thing to definitely check for would be in your stories that you don't have a story that's just like question and then the second question again, because that could be causing problems. Otherwise I would change the threshold on your fallback policy. So the higher the threshold is, the more likely you are to use your fallback policy. I think I might have that backwards. Hopefully that helps. What were we doing? We're here. So we have our, whatever this is called, dictionary. We have a dictionary that maps between our slot values, which we have, and our question keys, which is what our encoder is going to look for, and also what our classifier is going to look for. DK, I created a chatbot and it asks enter input again and again. Yeah, hard to say without more information. I would post about it on the forums. It could be that enter input is your fallback policy. All right, what were we doing? So in the Rasa SDK, return of the thing that was behind the other thing. Goodbye. So we haven't imported the tracker, so this isn't going to work as is, but what we need to do is we need to get slot cuisine. Oh, somebody had a question about databases the other time period ago. And here's an example of running a SQL query from an action is the word that I was looking for. Tracker.getSlot. All right. Have I, here's my second question. Doop, doop, doop. Have I, in my actions, imported the tracker? Elicitation form. It wouldn't be in there. It would be, actually, okay, so I have imported tracker as just like a top level, into the top level namespace. So I can just refer to tracker and then that should be fine. And the thing that I want to do now is tracker.getSlot. Why is that lowercase? I think when I define the function that is going to do this, I will need to include in the definition that tracker refers to the tracker that we've imported earlier. Okay, so I just need to make sure that I include that in the function definition for wherever we're doing this, which I think will be, we actually might have already done that. I think that's going to be the classification. I think we're going to put this in the classification pipeline. All right, nope, too far. Tracker. All right. Oh, here is also the thing that I was looking for earlier. I didn't in fact delete it. It's been there the whole time. 10 out of 10. Placeholder method for guessing dialect. And this one does have the dispatcher. Okay. Okay, so the dispatcher is what sends the messages to the user. Gotcha. Okay, so this is where we're going to do the thing. Detect dialect, classifier pipeline. Okay, so I have two different... Okay, so I have here, we have the detect dialect action. And then we have, it's calling on this classifier pipeline class. I'll make this smaller and move myself so I'm not on the code that I'm pointing at. So we have it's calling on the classifier pipeline class, and we are doing the classification in the classifier pipeline. All right, and when we encode the data, actually we should probably do this in the load data step, huh? Yeah, we should probably do this in the load data step. And the reason that we should do this in the load data step is because the load data step happens before the encode data step. And we want to get all of the information from all of the slots, not all of the slots, all of the slots that we collected with our form. We want all of that information to be passed into this dictionary data structure. Sorry, it's not a dictionary, it's a series, this labeled series data structure. So we're probably going to want to do this in the load data function. And that means that that is where we should put this. All right, paste, paste. That's not what I wanted. No, stop it. All right. type anymore. Oh, nope, I've suddenly typed very much a lot all at once. This is awful. Why is there lag? Let me try turning this off and not turning it on again. Is it my dock? All right, well, that worked. Weird. Predict cities, encode data, load data. Oh, okay. No, I did do it. Oof. All right, so this is going super well so far. And we don't actually need to print the bug slot info anymore. That was just to check that it did work correctly. I think I can move myself back down. So do I? Okay. So what I'm thinking about is, do I actually want this to be in my classifier pipeline? I don't think I do. Yeah, no, I don't think I do. I think I want the user response pre-processing to be not in the classifier pipeline, because we might want a different pipeline for different classifiers, right? So right now this is an XGBoost classifier. We might add additional classifiers. We might do some model tuning and want to compare different tunings. But for each classifier might also have a different encoder. That's something that we might want to experiment with as well. But for all of them, they'll still need the data in this same form. So I think I want that to be independent from the rest of the classifier pipeline. So I think it makes more sense to have that in the detect dialect class. Yes. All right. So the thing that I, let's see, so we have define run. We can call this, I believe, anything, because we're just going to be referring to it within the assistant. And actually that means that I don't actually need all of the, I don't need all of this in load data, because it's just going to be loading pre-trained models and classifiers, etc. So what am I going to call this? I'm going to call this what is it doing? Format form input. No. I'm going to call that format user input. So this is going to get the user input, and we're going to return user input. And we're going to return, so right now I'm just going to have user input be nothing, just so we can run this without having awful errors. So what is this going to be doing? It's going to be format user input as a series. It's a Panda series with the question key as the row name, I think it is. I don't know that it's necessarily as the, I think it's the row name. I don't think it's the index. We'll find out for sure. Should match format of test case before encoding. Okay. So that's what we're going to be doing. And my question key, how did I do it for the validation? Was that a separate? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to create another I don't want any of you though. Peace out. Goodbye. Can I just close you? There we go. There we go. Peace out. All right. So what I wanted to change was that I'm not actually a database of multiple. Why are you like this? Multiple choice answers. So I'm going to include another static method down here. Here, I think. Oop. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to capture. I just want to reuse the syntax from here just so it's nice, you know, nice and consistent across my different classes. All right. So here we're going to do here, and this is what we're going to use here. Instead of calling this answers DB, we're going to call this whatever we called it over here in our action test PyDB, slot question key. So this is what we're going to use to map the actions. Yes. And we have some weird, that looks right. All right, so we're not, yep. So we're gonna call this instead slot key DB of slot values and corresponding questions. There we go. Okay, so we should now be able to, oh, actually, yeah, that's a list. They don't have to be lists, huh? They could just, in fact, be strings, but for some reason I've made them lists. It's because they were lists in the other one. Well, great. I guess I can go back and fix that at some point in the future. Hakito says, I have to go, gonna give myself a gaming treat. Wish you happy coding. Thank you for joining. Have fun with your gaming. Alright, so, yes. They probably shouldn't be lists. Can I find just in match whole word regex? Can I find just in replace? Just in my selected text? Is that an option? No? All right, you know what? Heck with it. We'll just do this. And then what we should do next, and I think I'm actually probably gonna call it here because I think this is a fairly good place to start. What we're gonna do next is we're going to take the information that we have in this database. And we're going to use that to create the user input in the format that we want. So we're probably going to do part 2 of the same stream on Friday. Yeah, and I think we'll be good to go. And then at that point, we can replace, all we should need to do is just replace test case here in this function. Let's actually call this input case encoded because eventually it won't be test, and I want to make sure that we, there we go. Yeah, that's fine there. All right, excellent. So I want to make sure that we don't say that it's a test case when it is in fact going to be the user input case. Yeah, all right. So on Friday, same time, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is, I think, 10:30 IST and 5 GMT, maybe? I know there was just some countries in Europe just did daylight savings a little bit ago. And I'm going to be honest, I have a hard time with time zones. Yeah, so we should be good to go. And I'm just going to real quick run the action server just to make sure that we haven't created any horrific errors. So Rasa run. Nope, we're in the wrong directory. There we go. Rasa run action. So we should not get any errors here. We should just see that a Sanic server spools up. Oh, we did get some errors. All right, let's see if we can fix this. Where were our errors? Endpoint executor main. Yeah, see how that could be. All right. Actions. So somewhere in actions, I have typed Rasa as Razar. That'll do it. All right, now let's try. I think that's actually what I was trying to search for something. And I saved it, so it should be running the latest version. Great. All right, no errors. Yeah, next time we'll keep working on it, and hopefully by the end of next time we'll actually be able to take the dialect quiz for real with like my actual dialect input, and hopefully get some helpful, good responses out, which is exciting because after that, once we have like a minimum viable assistant, MVA is what that would be, we can start using Rasa X instead and start iterating there. Although I'm probably going to take a detour, depending on how this goes, to fix my my bad classifier. Maybe it's not that bad. I think I don't think I did my decoding correctly, and I don't know how I can do it less correctly, and I might have to end up emailing some people and asking for additional data files, which is like the real data science experience. So we shall see. All right, thank you for joining me today, everybody. I hope this was helpful, informative, at least distracting, if that's what you were looking for. And I will see you on Friday with a thing, the same thing. We're going to keep working on getting the user input from the form and the slots into something a little bit more usable for our classifier. I will see you then. Bye.